Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Dr. Zoo, it's good to see you. Dr. Alice, how are you doing today?
Yeah, we are missing you.
All right, hi. Yes. Hi, Dr. Bonner.
Hello. How is everybody doing today?
Cool. I'm fine. Okay, you're all welcome to today's edition of Ascend, and it's always a privilege to have opportunity to share our ideas and heart to heart and down to head talk. Today we have an interesting topic to discuss, and I really know that you're going to also find it interesting. But we're going to introduce ourselves. I am Opeyemi Bola Joko. I work with Cancer Health Equity Research Program here in Mayo Clinic, and I want my colleagues to introduce themselves. Dr. Alice.
Hi, my name is Uche. I'm a investigator in Dr. Dedino's lab. Yeah, we're all at Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville, Florida.
Dr. Bonner.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Giovanna. I'm also a research associate in Dr. Dedna's Cancer Health Equity Research Program, and I can't wait for today's conversation.
Dr. Zhu.
Hello, everyone. This is Ting Yuzhou. I'm a postdoc research fellow at Mayo and a early stage investigator in Dr. Odedina's lab. Nice to see you again.
So I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Bonner.
You're muted.
I'm sorry. I think we can go ahead and get started on our conversation for today. Our conversation for today is really going to be given our experiences in navigating research, and we laughing about it. It's a very serious topic, but it's funny to us because this is something that plagues most ESIs when trying to burst on the seams with that first, funding opportunity that allows you to just kick your research journey off. So that's kind of what we're going to be round robin in today. Between all four of us. So I think I'll go ahead and get started on a couple of questions. And anybody, well, do we want to, I think I'll field it to everybody. So Dr. Alice, we'll start with you first. How did you first learn
Is
to
that
identify?
even fair?
Yes, it's fair.
I have no response for that question.
No, it's fair.
Anyway, there are no wrong or right answers, right?
No, it's no wrong or right answers. This is all our experiences in trying to get grant money. So how did you learn to identify what you felt was a right fit funding mechanism?
For me, there's so many things, there's so many factors that all interact with each other. For me, I do know that eventually, for starters, I want to eventually transition into a faculty position, and for me, I think like I'm working on a K-99, and so I felt that that would be a very best fit because that's what it does. It's a pathway to independence, and not only necessarily faculty position, research institute, or preferably even in the university. And so I didn't need, I didn't need like a soothsayer to show that this is what would actually land me to my major goal. And so again, I think it starts with what we have at the back of our mind. What's the end goal? Do I want to be a researcher? There are other various, there's the R1 and all that, or do I just want to eventually transition into independence and run my own lab? Hopefully, like our mentor, Dr. Dedino, and so for me, that was what helped identify. I don't know if I'm getting your questions right. Yeah. Okay. So that's that. And also because that's also the field that I'm in, I have to actively learn grant writing because I also want to pursue my own agenda, which is cancer control. So that's one way that I know that if I have the grants, I'm independent to a reasonable level, that I can control what to a reasonable level also what I research and what I work on, because at the end of the day, the work is eventually going to improve health outcomes in the community. So those are the reasons or the factors that lead me to, and also the stage that I'm in my career. I know that I can't really venture. I know it's a gradual process, so I have to count one, two. You can't fly into flying. So I take baby steps, gradually until I get to the level where we can pursue those other. Though there is no harm in trying, but
Yeah.
just realistic goals, setting realistic goals for myself. And to point back to what you mentioned during our meeting, how much we have in terms of experience. I don't want to take too much time, but yes.
I want to hear Dr. Bolajoko's take on that because she's had an opportunity to really apply for, a wide range of private foundation, government funding. So, how do you feel finding that best fit for you as a ESI?
For me, I never even know what bed feast was before. I had no idea.
I like that honesty.
Yes, I didn't know anything about best fit. So, but the I believe the privilege I had was that my mentor, Dr. Dedino, always share grants. So if she says, I think you should apply, then I apply because I would say I wasn't thinking initially. I wasn't thinking initially, so I wouldn't say I knew. But now, after a couple of times, after of course a lot of no's, I now know that okay, for this stage of work, this would not work and that would not. But initially, I had no idea what was best fit. But now I believe that I'm better because now that's because of interaction with mentors, with funders, and a lot of rejection. And they know you get a good feedback, and they tell you that they tell you what is actually missing. A stage is missing that you've not done this stage.
Don't
Then
tell
you
too
go
much
back and
about
do
that
the
because we're gonna
stage.
talk about rejection. Don't go too far. We're gonna talk about
So that's
rejection.
when I later knew that okay, I've
Yes,
not got to that level. So
yes.
yeah,
And you,
that's
Dr. Zoe. So, how did you learn how to identify what you feel is a right fit for you when it comes to finding your grants or grant
So,
opportunities?
yeah, thank you. I'm still new. And
Yeah.
yeah, I can still remember in the beginning, joining the lab, I was so overwhelmed to see so many funding opportunities. I don't know where to look at actually. So after the time spent in the lab and discussions between Dr. Dina, colleagues, and I learned, yeah, first of all, I think there's something we want to see if there's a match between the priority area of the grants with our research expertise, and that's what they ask and what we can offer. So that's the first thing. And also I gradually learned different mechanisms will ask for different things from participants. For example, something like uh, I learned this today. Idea development award, maybe they don't require much previous data. So this is very friendly for early stage investigator. And we have idea, but maybe we don't have a long list of publication records or the successful grants experience. So, but some other grants will ask for many solid prior experience. So they are different. So I'm still learning, and I'm very grateful to be in the lab because it's safe for me to. At least for me, I feel as long as I feel it's a good fit, and as long as I see I have a potential opportunity here, I'm confident to apply for it because I know when I need to apply that, I feel Dina and the team will be there, always there, and support us to connect with different people with different expertise to raise a team for the application. So that's all.
Now, I have another question when it comes to, because we're talking about all these different types of mechanisms. What mistakes do you think we make as ESIs in identifying or actually going after particular grant opportunities? I'll start. I think as ESIs, we underestimate, grossly underestimate the amount of time that's going to be needed to put together a competitive grant application. Whether it is making sure you have every piece that, and not just your research proposal. I think we do a good job of getting that because we're primed from, training to make sure you have your proposal together. But all of the other pieces, like our budget, our letters of support, and all those other little pieces that actually make your grant just as competitive as your research proposal, I think we underestimate the time it takes to gather all of that to include in our grant. And a lot of times at the end we are scrambling trying to, hey, we need this letter, hey, we need this budget, hey, we need help with this, just being able to really learn how to pace yourself in this grant world. I think that those are some of the things those are some of the mistakes that I think that we make. But Dr. Zhu, back to you. What are some mistakes that you think that we make in going after our grants?
Oh, so in the application process, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's initially, especially in the PhD program period. I have written the research proposals, but back then I just focused on the scientific side to ensuring the methodological rigor. But for the grant writing, it's totally different. I feel it goes far beyond just presenting something like good science. Actually, it sounds like a systematic work. Yeah, for example, for the DoD grant I have written last year, it has over 10 components for the application. So it's really also a process help us to think very thoroughly about what's the value of what we can provide in the application in the research project. So yeah, that's the process. I feel very surprised and different from what my initial thoughts.
Okay. Dr. Alice, what are your thoughts on that?
Um, I think you both did mention the most important aspects, and the truth is not only do we wait, like you mentioned, by the time we try to get the other parts, the truth is that sometimes we don't even really know some of these other parts, and even when we do, it's like we mentioned today, the need for a cheat sheet.
Mm-hmm.
That it's helpful. That was something I usually would overlook and just go through the requirements without really um, writing the grant or paying attention to those little details that pretty much would reflect how a reviewer would review my work. So I guess that was something I took out from our meeting this morning with Dr. Dad. Perhaps even walking in their shoes, or assuming to be a reviewer to see what what they would how they would evaluate my work. I think that's it. I never really knew the importance of that cheat sheet. I would just go through requirements, but now it's very important to pay very, very, very strong details to those. And I think that's one thing for me.
Okay, Dr. Bojoko.
Yeah, for me, it's actually knowing, to know the major issue is many times I assume that, okay, I can just submit this one until you get to the application portal, especially if it's foundation and it's not
Mm-hmm.
because we're used to the government grant and okay, they're going to ask for this. But I recall there was this grant that I was assisting Dr. Dead, and it was LOI. The LOI was almost as long as the proposal itself.
Right.
And they were asking, I mean, it took like a whole day to put in all the I mean, the information of anybody you're bringing on that grant, even if the person is not collecting anything. You have to put in everything, the address, the CV. I had to
Wow.
even beckon on
That's
coordinator. Oh, because I never know that. Oh my God! I mean, it was a long list, and unfortunately,
and
it
if you
was
don't,
in the application. They did not mention it until you want to submit, and then you
Oh.
now get there, and they're not
yeah,
asking. Oh my God! Then we had to start.
And that's what you spent your whole 2 months
yeah,
working on.
just to say one thing. Just to say one thing. I'm sure you were lucky to have submitted early because maybe if you had
Yeah,
like 10 minutes
exactly.
or 5, 10 minutes or 20 minutes, that's
Yes,
a heart
honestly,
attack happening.
honestly, that kind of grant, you cannot submit it in
Last minute.
3 days.
Mm-mm.
In fact, Dr. Dedina was like, we need to just quickly start putting in those things, like
Yeah, the
about
early.
10
I think that's
days.
something. Yeah,
If not because she insisted that we started at that time, there's no way we could have submitted it.
I think.
Because we had to go back and start calling people.
Mm-hmm.
Getting. But those information were not even, it wasn't stated in the application. I mean, the application call it wasn't there.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Well, we're
guess
gonna.
submitting
Oh, go
early.
ahead.
Sorry, please. Submitting early for
Yeah,
people getting
Mm-hmm. That's what
like
I said. We
get
grossly
anxiety.
underestimate.
Ooh, submitting early will help. So if there's anything, it would easily flag it immediately. And then, like you said,
and
Dr. Joko, you
and
had
Dr.
time to
Bonner,
address your issues.
do you recall the Florida Innovation Grant?
Yes.
Until until I went to, and Dr. Zu, you recall, until I went to that stage, and oh my God,
Thank
there
you.
was just so many. It was different from the proposal we wrote.
Oh yeah. That's why I said we spend so much time on the proposal
Yeah.
that you forget all the other pieces that you have to include in order to have a competitive grant application. But being scientists, you spend all of your time on the science. So, but yes, we're gonna
Yeah.
kind of switch to our research questions. So some of the challenges that I know that we've had with developing our research questions, and we just went through um a grant writing, basically boot camp, but having those overly ambitious aims and having weak significance or weak innovation. And even in our boot camp, we kind of went back and forth about innovation and significance. Insufficient preliminary data and difficulty being able to articulate what the impact of this work is actually going to be. So what distinguishes what we feel a good idea from a fundable idea? Dr. Bolajoka?
I think for me, for me, after the boot camp, okay, that actually you can have the good idea is in my head.
Yes.
The first thing, the difference is the way I put it down for a third party to read it. So I know. So where the difference is what I'm writing for a third party must not differ from what I have in my head. And that's a big deal for me. I'm still working on that. I wouldn't say, but I learned that and I'm still working on that to be able to put it down the way I'm thinking about it because writing is not the same as what is in my head.
That's really it. Like the fundable ideas on paper, the good ideas in our head. So being able to distinguish between the two. But go ahead, Dr. Zoe.
Yeah, so right now, like I need to make sure that another person who is not even in my field reads it and tell me what I wrote down,
Hmm.
because I want to be sure that person understood my point and the idea I'm trying to fill. I mean, the gap I'm trying to fill. So that's
Yeah.
what one thing I think now, that that's the difference. It's actually a different thing. What I'm thinking and what is on paper might be different, and I need to be aware
Hmm.
of that difference before I submit it.
Yes. Yes. All right, Dr. Zoe. What distinguishes a
Yeah.
good idea from a fundable one?
Wow, that's a great and a big question. I trying to answer. So yeah, it's still a miss to me because the success rate is so low. But I think that we can still get some clue from the reviewers' suggestions or feedback. For example, from the last round of the application, from the
Hmm.
reviewers' viewpoints, I can see they will be happy to see some grants have solid previous evidence in the literature supports our approach to have a good outcomes after the project's implementation, or they want to see some grants have considering thoroughly about the risk. For example, what if the method approach doesn't work? So if you have some backup approaches, or have you think about it and have some solutions possibly. So I still dig into the gold in the reviewers' suggestions to get more sense about what they think is a good grants. Yeah, still learning.
And Dr. Liche?
I like to add on what Dr. Balajoko said. It's almost like I have two personalities. The one for myself, like what I'm thinking in my head, and then what I have on paper. And maybe this boils down to during the PhD process, training. There is the need to perform, like use those very big words, when all we really should have done was just to be very simple and direct to the point. So in our training, when Dr. The trainer, she saw this, she was like, these are all very good but very hard words. Just make it simple. Do the coffee. So even when I do the coffee, I do it to myself, but it's so simplistic that I'm like, wouldn't they think that this person is not educated enough, to actually handle this grant? So I think that's still where I'm trying to get a bridge between that, so that the simpler the better. If I can have that conversation and be able to put out the words very clear, and be confident that those words are simple but still very useful and very relevant, rather than having to use the big nomenclature, those big words, or try to make my sentences complicated. I think for me, that's what I think.
And that kind of segues into the next question about, do we err on the side of having a broad type of topic, or do we need to have it more narrow? Even if we are putting it in a coffee conversation type of format, do we err on the side of, making sure we capture everything, or do we niche it down? Dr. Alicia?
You're talking to me like I'm an expert. I'm still learning. Um, for me, I usually will start broad and then eventually narrow it down so that I make sure it's manageable. But that's the way that I learned writing, to start broad, like take a deep dive and see what you can find, and then you narrow down, but not narrow so much so you pigeonhole yourself and your concepts and ideas. So for me, I usually start broadly and then eventually narrow down. Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Bulajoko?
Yeah, for me now, from what instead of having a very broad, especially I'm talking in context of the work itself now. It's better, I mean, from what I've learned, it's better to be focused on one or two things and not just be big, because many times the reviewer have a pushback and the question would be, oh, this is an ambitious project. So to avoid being ambitious and to also always remember that there's time and resources constraints. So now I've learned that I need to just be very specific in what I want to address, and I can't do everything. I can only do one or two things.
And that's the part that, we have to kind of navigate is, are we even allowed to be that ambitious? We have this good, novel, innovative idea, but are we really, as ESIs, allowed to be really ambitious to make sure that we can convince these reviewers that we actually can do this work? But Dr. Zoe, and this is our last question. We're gonna wrap up so we can segue into Dr. Odetna's piece.
Oh, yeah, I will keep it brief. I will focus on the priority areas in the grants and then focus on that and narrow down it as much as possible, I think.
Dr. Bolajoka, did you want to close this out?
Oh, yes. I want to thank everyone who were able to make this very interesting. Thank you, my colleagues, and thank you for the ideas that have been shared and your experiences. We're all learning every day, and I know we do have early stage investigators out there, and we're all starting out, and there's no need to be scared. We just need to continue to navigate and be strong. We're all in the same boat, and we're going to really navigate the funding landscape successfully. Thank you all.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da. Yeah. Sheesh. Watch us how we move like this. Watch us how we move. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da. Watch us how we move like this. Watch us how we move. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da. Watch us how we move like this. Watch us how we move. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da. Watch us how we move like this. Watch us how we move. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da. We gon' move like this, like this, like this. Yeah, we gon' move like this, like this. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da. We gon' move like this, like this, like this. Yeah, we gon' move like this, like this. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da. Watch us how we move like this. Watch us how we move. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da. Watch us how we move like this. Watch us how we move. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da. Watch us how we move like this. Watch us how we move. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da. Watch us how we move like this.
Oh, okay. I guess it is showtime. Am I on? Okay, I guess I am on. Yes, it is showtime. It is Academic Diaries. Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to Academic Diaries with Professor O, where science meets the real life. Today's diary entry is about something many people in academic don't talk about. Okay, and it's sort of things that we know, but we just sort of keep quiet about it. When people advise us, I'm going to be talking about bad advice. I know that a lot of times with this type of shows, you want to talk about what is the good advice that you got that really helped you. But today, I think I'm going to switch it around a little bit. I'm going to talk about bad advice that comes from people who may mean well. They are not advice that was intentionally cruel, but advice that quietly teaches people, especially women, young scholars, underrepresented researchers, to sort of shrink themselves in order to survive academia. So I'm going to say that again. People may mean well and they're advising you on things to do, but sometimes it's asking you to shrink who you are so that you can survive academia. I've been in academia for over 30 years now, so I know I've gotten a whole lot of those ideas. And some of the worst advice that I received early in my career sounded very normal at the time. In fact, they are things that you will consider that maybe I want to do it. For example, when I first of all moved to the United States from Nigeria, I had advices such that you may want to get rid of your assets. Okay. Well, everybody has an accent. So there is no standard accent in the whole world. Why would I then change the accent that I have to be able to assimilate? Another advice was you may want to consider assimilating better. What does that mean? It means when you think about it, if you are assimilating into another culture, into another environment, that means you are losing something. You are losing some of the things of who you are to become where you are in. So that was some of the things that I had. Don't take risk until you're senior. Work-life balance comes after tenure. Don't get married. Don't have children because it's going to derail your career. Stop your tenure clock when you're having children, so that way you won't lose any. You will be able to come back strong. Or when applying for grants, list your department chair or dean as the principal investigator. Wow. So, what I wanted to do today is I want to unpack all of that. And while I am unpacking all of that, I really want to hear from you. Okay. What are some of the advices that you have received that in hindsight that you think maybe they were not such a great advice? Can you put them into the comment section so we can learn from each other? Also share how you dealt with it. So I'd like to see some of the advice that you are at. So let me take a look at the comment section. So what are some of the advice that you have had over your career that it was like, oh, I don't know about this? If you can put that into your comment sections, I'm going to come back to look at it because I don't see anything yet in the comment section. So hi, I'm just seeing hi, amazing. Thank you to the Ascend group for doing such an amazing job. Okay, while we are waiting on that, I'm going to really talk about some of the things that I have heard in my career. So, number one, what advice did I follow early in my career simply because I was afraid to question the authority? And the number one for me has to be assimilation. Coming from Nigeria, coming to do my PhD here, going into positions as assistant professor, moving through the faculty rank. There is that subtle. Sometimes people say it outward. Sometimes people just infer it. Sometimes people just suggest it about the idea of assimilation. And you start to think about it as organizational culture. And you want to adhere to the organizational culture.
It may have to do with the way you have your hair. A lot of times I have people say that most probably braiding your hair or having braids was not considered at that time when I was in academia to be something that is professional, although coming from Nigeria, Africa, we braid our hair all the time and we are in organizational culture and it was okay. So coming into a culture that sees something different, like braiding your hair, that will be something that was not considered as assimilation, or the way you dress, or the way you carry yourself. And another example, which was extremely in the opposite side, when I first of all joined graduate school at University of Florida, I came in. I had already had my first degree. I came in as a pharmacist, and as a pharmacist, I dressed professionally all the time in Nigeria. And I came in, all the outfits that I had and all the outfits that I was wearing. Every time I come into the office, people are asking, "Oh, where are you going to?" I'm like, "Right here to the office." No, you look dressed up. You look do dressed up. I was like, okay, wait. I guess the different culture. So it could be the way you dress. It could be the way you speak. It could be your work ethics. I've been told sometimes that, oh my goodness, you work too hard. But the culture that I come from, sometimes is a good thing to work too hard. So it creeps up on you over the years when you start hearing, this is different. You need to assimilate and you need to be able to make a change. So while we're considering that, I want to see whether you have some comments. Let me go back to the comment section. Any examples? No example yet. Just hi, everyone. Which is fine. I'm happy to continue to talk about my experiences. But if you have any experiences, please feel free to put it in the chat and put it in the comment section. And let's talk about it. So other things that you do is like when you start hearing that aspect of, you need to assimilate, you are now creating different persona for yourself. You're thinking, this is who I am, this is my culture, this is how I am as a person. But I am being told that if I'm in this space, in this institution, in this organization, that maybe I shouldn't be that. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about being professional. You cannot go to work and not be professional. I'm talking about deep changes, such as your belief system, such as your culture, such as your religion. An example that I have is I'm somebody that has a very strong faith. And I don't believe that my faith needs to be separated from my work because that's who I am as a human being. And sometimes, people have said, in a very subtle way, oh, you wear your faith all the time. I'm like, yeah, and I'm okay wearing my faith. I'm not ashamed to be named a person of faith. And if I'm praying that God answers my prayers in this way, why would I go out and be ashamed to say I pray to God to do this? So kind of something like that. I had to do a little bit of pushback, and I had to say it should be okay if I have a Bible passage in my email. I think I'm okay with that because that is the piece that I want. If you can quote a philosopher under your email and it's okay, it should be fine if I have a Bible passage that makes me feel good every time that I see it. That should not be anything difficult. Another thing is once in a while, I'm Yoruba from Nigeria. I like to wear my Yoruba outfit, and I think it should be okay. But it took me some time. As an early stage investigator, I was more about assimilating, and I was more about wanting to concur with how people who you see in the office that police everything, and what they feel is comfortable, what they feel is not comfortable. But I came to kind of realize that this is more of an academic hierarchy thing that people create to make people assimilate to their own ways because we all come from different view. And what it leads to is you start making fear-based decision making. You start having not confidence in, oh, is it okay for me to do this, or is it okay for me not to do this? Which leads to some power dynamics that you may not have. So So just kind of thinking about that, you simply have to think about what is being said to you, what are being asked to you, what are the advices? Is this something that really changes who I am as a person, or is this something that is going to make me feel better? So it's okay for you to start thinking about those decisions. So the next thing I want to discuss is if I could sit down with my younger self over coffee today, what would I tell her to ignore? So I'm not sure whether you've been able to, I'm going to look at the comment sections in a minute, whether you've been able to put comments about some advices that have been said to you that you're not comfortable with. But I'd like to hear if you can just think about 10 years ago, the person that you were 10 years ago, and what is that one thing that you want to tell that younger self of yourself? So what would you tell that person? I want you to just share in the comment section. And I'm going to go back to actually 30 years ago, 35 years ago. I'm going to ask, or even 40 years ago. And I'm going to kind of answer the questions for you all. And I want you to tell me what you think about what I'm going to say. So if I had to sit down with my 20-something-year-old self and I'm having a coffee with her, what would I tell her to ignore? So I thought about this, as I was kind of thinking about this program today, and I made a list of some of the things that I think I want to tell myself, which I have now realized over decades later about being in academia. The very first thing I would say to myself is be you. Simple. Just be you. You are fabulous. Just be you. And you are sufficient. I'm going to tell myself you do not need to become less human to become successful. And what I mean by that is that I do not need to put a persona of what I see or consider as being in academia or being a scientist or being a researcher to be, or how others feel that it is for me to be successful. I want to be a human being. I want to be able to relate as a human being. I want my emotions to be part of what I do in my daily life. You do not need to dim your light for anyone else. Now, this is big because oftentimes in academia, people think, okay, maybe I don't want to let people know all the things I'm doing, or I don't want to let people know that. You don't have to be shouting on top of the mountain that this is me, I'm ooh la la, I'm great. But don't dim your light for anyone else. It does not matter who it is. Just let your light shine. You do not need to dim your culture for any other culture. And it took me some time to come to that realization because being in another country and looking at the American culture. But one of the things that I've come to realize about the American culture is it's not a melting point. It's not a melting pot, rather. It's not a melting pot. It's a tossed salad. So you think about salad. When you toss the salad and you have different colors and you have different leaves and you have different ingredients, what makes the salad beautiful is that each ingredient also has its uniqueness and is not necessarily mixed with any other ingredient. The carrot is not mixed with the cabbage. If you decide to put fruits on there, it's going to be a fruit and it's not going to become a vegetable. And so I don't need to dim my culture. It is okay to be who I am. You don't need to choose between impact and family. You do not need to sacrifice your family because you want to make an impact. It took me some time to get there, but you can do a balance so that you are not sacrificing your family for your career, because you have to remind yourself your career is the means. The goal is your family. The goal is for you to be happy, however you define your family. You don't need permission to lead. You are a born leader. I really want to tell myself that, because sometimes I kind of, in my early career stage, I kind of felt, oh, I have all those ideas and I have a lot in my mind, but I don't want people to think I'm too pushy. And I'm not asking you to be pushy, but sometimes I was kind of like telling myself that maybe I shouldn't, maybe I should, maybe there's the right time for me to do this. Maybe when I'm tenured, I can do this. No, you do not. You do not need permission from anybody to lead. you are a born leader. I'm going to tell myself, and this is interesting, and this is funny, and it's okay for you to laugh. I'm going to tell myself to ignore the haters. I think sometimes we get caught up in people whose whose whole life is focused on something that they don't like about you, or something that they feel they want to chip away because you have too much light. And so they want to chip that thing away to be able to dim your light. So you have to ignore the haters. I will tell myself that they will always hate, regardless of what you do or you don't. Uh, in my faith, Jesus Christ is the greatest, and he was also hated. So it's fine. Let people hate you. It means you are alive. So that is okay. I will tell myself that, and not to spend any time worrying about that. I think I've evolved into a stage that I don't spend any time on anyone that has negativity about me. That has nothing to me. Another thing that I would tell myself, because I struggled with this early in my career, when I'm helping other people, I expect them to show kindness to me. No. Another thing I would say is help others without keeping score. It's all right. Now I just help and I move on. Even when your kindness is met with cruelty or ingratitude, never regret choosing compassion. I've done so many things that I feel I need to do. And if God speaks it into my heart to do, I will do it. And I do it and I move on. So even if your kindness is met with somebody doing something off, never regret that you are compassionate, because their response to your kindness reflects their character and not yours. So it's okay. And life has a way of returning to people exactly what they give to others. So you just keep doing what you're doing and keep moving on. And lastly, I would tell myself of about 40 years ago what I've now come full circle to realize, and I'm doing it confidently, to always make God the foundation, the center, and everything, right? So while I did not know this as my young self, I thank God that I have come full circle on this fact. So I want to kind of quickly see whether there are any comments. Okay, let's see. Funny enough, this is advice you can use in your everyday life. Absolutely. This is the advice that you can use your everyday life. Okay. Do we have anybody sharing their advice? Come on, I want to see comments on what bad advices that you received. Let's share and how you dealt with it. That would be great. So kind of now I want to move a little bit more into a couple of core story segment. Maybe I'll do two of what has actually happened in my life. The advice that almost defined me, but I ended up not letting it define me. One is, let me just handle the part, because we have a lot of women who are trying to make it in academia, and they literally have the struggle with having a family life, with having children. When I was in graduate school, I was not a traditional graduate student. I had already graduated, had my first degree, practiced as a pharmacist for 3 years. I was in my late 20s, almost 30. And so I got into graduate school first before I got married and I have children. And it was interesting because when I was, I came to University of Florida my very first semester in graduate school, and I was going to go to England to get married. And I can remember one of the professors that I had, who was a full professor, a woman, a full professor, and she didn't have any children, and she knew I was going to go get married. And then she told me, she said, like, I will let me tell you about the story of my life. Yeah, and I was married. It got in the way of my career. I had to choose my career. Blah 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 blah. I mean, she was like she was bearing it all to convince me that it was not a great idea to get married, and if I did, my career would affect my marriage, and maybe also I should wait before having children. I'm like, no, I'm almost 30. At that time, people over 30 do not have children. And I'm like, you are using your life to define who I am. So I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Although I think that I said thank you. But these are fair narratives around motherhood and academia. And at that time, that hope I think is much better now because we have great example. Motherhood and academia was like it does not go together. Uh, Pressure women to, to prove that you are committed to academic career. It was almost even at the time that I was in graduate, I graduated and I had my first job at West Virginia University, and I was going through. It was like, every time that I was pregnant and having a baby, it was like people are. It was like I had to almost prove and work doubly to prove that I am committed to my career as a scientist. And the silent guilt that many women experience. It's like now I want to cover up being the mother. I don't want I don't want this to happen. Meanwhile, men can have children and go and do whatever they want to do. But with women, it's like you now have to kind of think about that. But it's people's different opinions are very different. And it was interesting, while this woman was so more worried about me getting married and having children, for my first daughter that I had, it was interesting. I was still in graduate school. Remember, I was a late I was a late into getting into graduate school because I already had a career. And it was interesting because I went for my biostatistics class on a Friday. I had my daughter on during the weekend, and I was back in school on Monday to take my biostatistics exam. And it was like, what? Where is the pregnancy? It's like it became a baby. The baby's at home. I have somebody who's watching the baby, and I'm here for my exam. So you cannot personalize what your life is with other people's lives. So that was kind of quite an interesting thing. Another one that I want to discuss, I'm looking at the time, we're almost out of time, is um, listing your chair or dean as principal investigator. I really, at one of the institutions that I was at, it's not my current institution, this was an issue. In fact, at the beginning, when I started submitting grants, it was not an issue. I was putting myself on PR, and then I got somebody called me, and one of the other chair, I was chair of my department then, and said, do you realize that all the grants that we write here, the dean is the PI? I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, the dean is either the PI or the co-PI or multiple PI. And I'm like, no, the dean is not the one that is not sleeping at night. The dean is not the one that is working around the clock. The dean is not the one that is doing all my work. And the dean definitely does not have the expertise to do my work. So no, I'm not putting the dean as the PI. It can be the chair of the internal advisory group, but I am going to be my own PI. And so, sometimes people think that, why do you have to tell me that? Like to put the dean? No, I'm not. It created a lot of political thing with the dean, but I stood my ground because I had to ask myself, if I do the work, if I develop the vision, if I carry the responsibility, why should the dean lead it for me? No, I'm going to be the one that leads it. So those things kind of around the fact that just because you are an early stage investigator, that you cannot lead a grant or you cannot be the PI of your grant. This is not something that I foster in our lab. In our lab, I strongly encourage an early stage investigator, as long as you are able to please be the PI and use whatever I have to boost up your grants, because this is really, really key. Okay, so we've talked about what are some of these advices. We've talked about critical examples of what they are, and I've talked about really, what it means for you to look at this advice and to go for this advice. So I want to just, in the few minutes that we have left, let me see, how much time? 5 minutes, to debunk the myths. This is me now wearing my mentorship mode. The myth number one, you must sacrifice your personal life to be respected. No. You need boundaries. You need support systems. and intentionally, not isolation. Never isolate yourself. Okay, never isolate yourself. Keep your personal life. In fact, what makes you successful is when you have another life that really gives you an opportunity to forget all this stress in academia and research that you have to do. You have to have something that lets you release. Okay, so that's myth number one. Myth number two is struggle alone to prove competence and strength. Okay, no. One of the healthiest things that I learned was how to surround myself with people that I trust. I have different support systems. I have a support system in which we are all in some level of, directorship at the cancer center, and we can talk to ourselves about the stress and air it out, and be able to support each other. Then I have another support group that is me, Dr. Camille Reagan, and Dr. Renee Rings. We have a chat group that we all understand the stress of being scientists, and we can send Bible passages and songs to each other, and it's almost like we knew what each other was going through. So you have to have the support system that really allows you to be able to get out of this. Myth number three, which is the final one I'm going to deal with: leadership belongs to senior people alone. Okay, no. Leadership does not mean that you have to be a senior to be a leader. Leadership begins when you trust your own voice. Now, that's one of the things that I wanted to say, because as while I encourage folks in my lab to be leaders, and I give them the opportunity to be leaders, that leadership does not start until you trust your own voice and you trust yourself that you can be a true leader. So let's just bust that, right? Okay, in the last couple of minutes that I have left, if you did not hear anything that I said today, let me give you three practical takeaways. Number one, advice is not always wisdom. Let me say that again. Advice is not always wisdom. The person that is giving the advice is most probably coming from their own worldview. Even well-meaning people can project their fears onto your future. I want to say that again. Even well-meaning people, they literally can project their personal fears into your future. And you have to be the one that says, it is not my portion. I do not accept that. Thank you for the advice. I'll take it into consideration. And then maybe I do it, maybe I don't. So that's number one. Advice is not always wisdom. Number two, build a support system early. Okay. Build a support system early. You saw the Ascend group before Academic Diaries. These four people, they really support each other. They read each other's grants, even when they are not on each other's grants. They invite each other to publications to publish, which gives them more opportunities to publish, right? They laugh together. Whenever things are not going well, they come together and support each other. So you have to build a support system early. A community that you build is not a distraction from success. It is actually part of the success, okay? Number three, define success for yourself. If you do not define what being successful means personally, academia will define it for you professionally. Now, let me say that again. Define what being successful means personally. Because if you do not define it, academia will define it for you professionally. And that may be a good thing, and that may be a not good thing. You think about why people get burnt out. You think about why people are not happy, despite the fact that they seem to be moving on. You think about why people carry a lot of stress. It's because whatever they're doing was externally put on them rather than what they define themselves. I'm evolving into a stage of my life that I choose what I want to do. And it does not matter how much effort I put in because I love doing it, it really is not much. We are already at 2 p.m. So let me close this out. Success built on fear will always cost you pieces of yourself. Okay? But true successfully initiative does not require sacrificing your humanity, your peace, or the life you dream or beyond your career. You are allowed to pursue excellence without abandoning who you are. You have to be true to yourself. Protect your purpose, trust your voice, and never let fear decide the future you deserve. Next time on Academic Diaries with Professor O, I'll take you into something different. What my daily life as a professor actually looks like. What do I do from Monday to Friday? From the email, actually from Monday to Sunday, I walk, I walk around the clock. From the emails and meetings to the mentoring, to the writing, to the strategy work, nobody says. Until then, protect your purpose, trust your voice, and don't let fear make decisions for you. I'll see you during the next diary entry. And now let's see whether there are comments or questions. Thank you, everyone. Okay, we are already at one-on-one. I don't want to take anybody's time, but if there's anybody questions, I'm happy to answer anybody questions that you have. Oh, there are a lot of them at the top. Now let me scroll to the top. Okay. Okay, I see. Despite people saying that children will slow me down, I still went ahead to raise 3 children while in graduate study years. And you're doing amazingly well. I think this is great. Yes. Yes. You have to prove to others exactly what it is. I am so happy for the decision today. And absolutely. And then Messiah says, I can resonate with Prof. I have gotten same advice: to not get married yet and finish PhD first. Now, yep. Let's see any other comments. Oh, did I miss some? I was told. Oh, I did miss some. Okay. If you can stay behind, let's stay behind because I really want to read everybody's comments. Yes. Okay, let's see. I have been told that my personality is very professional and does not match my appearance. Oh my goodness. Oh, okay. Which was a good thing. Yes. You can be who you are. You can be fabulous. You can look great. We don't have to look like something a dog dragged in just because that we don't want to be who we are. Like I was told that I am an early investigator and I don't have 10 or 5 years experience, so someone more experienced than me be the PI. Oh my God. Now that breaks my heart that you are even hearing that. There should be nobody telling you that. What they should be saying is that you be the PI, we will be the co-PI, and we will support you and come with a team that strengthens you. That's really very I hope that you are able to overcome that and surround yourself with better mentors. I would learn to ignore discouraging comment, especially from seniors. Oh, wow, yes. Please ignore. When they send it to you, just send it back to them. Just say it's not my portion, it's yours. You can take it. I was told that you need to have everyone at least in the committee like you if you want to be tenured assistant professor in a university. Oh, like you. Oh, wow. Yes. I think that pressure is such a lot. And that makes you focus more on doing things for them rather than really pushing your career. Right. I mean, you're not going to go around and fight people, but being tenured should not mean that you should be kissing people's, you know what I mean. Ignore fear. It is just yes. So no vision is too big to achieve. Amen to that. I can achieve great things. Yes, you can. I need to say no when necessary. Yes. And we talk about that a lot. And I ask you a lot. Do you have the bandwidth? You need to say no when you can. for me, this is what I do now, and it's very important that I share this. Every time I take on a new responsibility, I drop something because there's no way I can continue to expand and expand. But I don't just drop it. I take that thing that I've built and I give it to somebody who I know can run with it. So I look behind me and I say, okay, I've done all I can with this. So can you take it and run with it? And then I can do something else. So that would be a great way to do it. Absolutely. Saying no is not a good thing. But if you're able to do it, then drop something. That is great advice. Yep. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Did I miss anything? Yes, I don't think I missed anything. Let's see. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining. Uh, like I said, the next one, I'm really excited to for the next one that I'm going to do, and that is because I have never shared with anyone, and everybody knows or have a guess as to how I run my daily life. But I'm actually going to be sharing what I do from Monday to Sunday, and how I protect my time for different things. So I'm happy to share that. So thank you. Have a nice weekend, everybody.